Today I'm going to make a fresh nectarine frozen yogurt. I've got 3 nectarines, but I'm just going to use 2, and I'm going to reserve 1 for topping or just to eat. I'm going to add a little bit of lime for freshness and ginger. I'm also going to use a little bit of rosemary because I used rosemary with one of my sorbets, I think it was a nectarine sorbet, and the flavors went together really well. But I want to be careful because last time it was a little strong and I had to do a few things to tone it down. I'm just using a little bit of the rosemary, and I'm going to be real careful to taste my sauce before I put it away to freeze. I'm going to use Greek yogurt, and it's low fat, so I'm going to add a little bit of cream to make it luscious, not too much. And I'm going to use a little bit of monk fruit and a little bit of Splenda, maybe about a cup. I always put salt in my yogurts just to bring out the flavors, and I'll probably be adding a little bit of vanilla. So the first step is to cook my nectarines, and I'm just going to leave the skins on because I like the little flecks of skin in there. It's going to be blended up really fine anyway, so you won't even notice. Over medium heat, I add a little bit of butter. You don't have to use butter, but I just think it makes a richer sauce. Then I'm going to add sliced nectarines, 2 of them. And I'm just going to stir this up until it starts to soften, maybe about 5 minutes. Now that this has been cooking for about 5 minutes, the nectarines have softened up a bit. I'm ready to add my other ingredients. This is an optional ingredient. I like to add some sort of liquor that's going to cook off, but it kind of adds to the flavor. I'm going to be adding this elderflower gin. I think the flavor will go nicely with the nectarine. Just a little splash. Make sure that your flame is not too high, otherwise it will catch on fire, which is fine as long as you're aware that that's going to happen. I'm also going to be adding lime juice and lime zest. I'm going to be adding quite a bit. These are really juicy limes, and I'm going to add 1.5. In addition to that, I'm going to add my rosemary sprigs and my ginger. I'm also going to add some salt and my monk fruit sweetener. Now, as far as sweetener goes, I suggest you taste the fruit before you put the sugar in. I tasted it. It's pretty tart. It's tasty, but tart. So I'm going to add the rest of this bag, which is probably about 1/4 cup of monk fruit sweetener. You could use any kind of sweetener you prefer. And then I'm going to stir this up and taste it. I've cooked this for about 5 more minutes, and the fruit is nice and soft, and it tastes delicious, but the sauce is not quite ready. It's a little bit too liquidy. I don't want to add this liquid to my yogurt. It might make it so it freezes incorrectly, and it would not freeze incorrectly, but it won't spin up nicely. So what I'm looking for is to get a nice sauce that kind of like holds its shape a little bit better when I run my spoon through it. So I'm going to cook it for a few more minutes. Now my sauce is ready. As you can see, when I pull my spoon through it, it holds its shape a little bit. So and if you taste it, you can tell too. And you can also tell by the change of the bubbles. It looks different when it's ready. So now I'm going to remove my rosemary. That'll be way too strong if I blend that up. So I'm going to remove that, do one last taste, and then I'll be ready to make my base. To make my base, I'm going to take my cooked nectarines and I'm going to add my Greek yogurt. I'm just going to do it, I'm not going to measure, I'm just going to put a few spoonfuls in. I'm going to add a cup of you can add sugar, or I'm adding Splenda, because I did add sugar to the nectarine mixture, but it's still pretty tart. So I'm going to continue to add my yogurt. I don't want to get it too full, so that's probably good. I'm trying to get it exactly to the line. I'm going to add a little bit of cream, This is an option. Basically, if you want to cut back on the calories, obviously you'd eliminate the cream. I want to make sure this one's really creamy because it's for a party. So I'm going to add just a little bit to smooth it out. Maybe just a tablespoon. You can decide. I'm going to stir this up and taste it. After tasting this, it's good, but a couple things I think I need to add. A little bit of vanilla. I'm using Tahitian vanilla, but you can use whatever kind you want. I would say about just a teaspoon. And a little bit of salt. I know I added salt to my fruit, but it needs a little bit more because it's pretty sweet. So I'm just going to add a dash of salt to bring out the flavor. And I think I'm going to stir this up. I think that's going to be ready to freeze. After mixing this up and tasting it one last time, it's really good, but I decided to add some kumquat. It just kind of pops the flavor a little bit. It's a sourness. I just sliced it and took out the seeds. If you don't have kumquats, you could use maybe more citrus zest, maybe lemon or lime. It just helps to bring out the flavor of the fruit and really make it pop when it spins. But I think it's good now that I added the vanilla and the salt and the kumquat. Now that this is frozen, I'm going to spin it on the yogurt setting. I'm going to do full so that if there's any fruit that went to the bottom, it will grind up as well. After one spin, it looks good. It looks like it only did half. Maybe I mispressed that, but it doesn't really matter. Normally I like to do the whole thing on the first spin, but that's okay. So I'll go ahead and spoon it up. The texture looks really good. Looks like that. And I reserved some of the fruit to put fresh fruit with it. You can do that, but you don't have to. And now to taste. It's good. It's creamy, it's tart, delicious. I like it a lot.